Hi everyone, I'm Adrienne. I am welcoming you to another 60-minute yoga session from the comfort of my home and hopefully the comfort of yours or another safe space. We're gonna jump right in because I had a little bit of a technical difficulty jumping in. I'm sorry if you endured that, but welcome again if you were able to figure out what's going on. So before we kick back, grab any blocks, blanket, whatever would make you more comfortable if you know what those props are. And we're just going to start in child's pose. So if you know child's pose, proceed to find it. And if you don't, you're going to come towards the back half of your mat. You have the 2 feet touching behind you. Knees might feel good wide, some space in between. Might feel better for some people to have the knees close touching. I'm going to take mine wide and then slowly walk the hands out in front of you. We're trying to keep the seat connected to the heels, but that doesn't happen for everyone, and it doesn't happen for everyone right away. But perhaps with time, it will one day. So don't be too hard on yourself. If you feel your chest, a lot of space between the chest and the floor, grab a pillow, put it underneath, a little bit of support under there. And we're just working to stretch the arms long in front of us by, in our head, picturing this idea of the seat meeting the heels while the fingertips stretch forward. We can envision and hopefully one day feel a sensation of the spine lengthening. So we have 2 opposite directions on the 2 opposite sides, 2 opposite ends of the spine. So that'll create more space between the parts of the spine, between the vertebrae. And you can keep looking ahead if you like, or you can allow the forehead to rest either on the pillow or on the mat, wherever it finds a supportive surface. And I'll encourage you just to close the eyes and just let the head hang heavy as possible wherever it is resting. And we're not going to get started with much movement right away, but if you are itching to do some movement, maybe you rock the head side to side across the forehead, massaging the eyebrows, or rather the bones beneath them. Still stretching the fingers forward. And then try to relax into some stillness. Take note of the pace and quality of your breath, whether it's catching on the way in and out of the lungs. That's quite all right if it is. Try to take some deep, slower breaths than might come initially as natural. And as you inhale, see if you can use the breath to support the collarbones, or the shoulder blades rather, spreading across the back. Like you're puffing up a balloon and it's right at the edge. It's feeling very taut. And on the exhale, you just relax, letting the air out of the balloon. And the eyes are closed if that feels secure for you, restful. And hopefully this is starting to feel better, starting to feel good. It's just a nice place to start to outline a sketch of how you feel right now, today. And let's take 10 slow breaths at our own pace. maybe it's helpful for you to start to activate some noise as you breathe, activating what is called ujjayi or fierce breath. And that's creating the sensation as though you're fogging up a mirror. It's creating a little bit of friction by constricting the throat as you inhale and exhale. Both of those breaths in and out are still through the nose if possible. I think we're at about 10. So start to walk the fingers over to your right. You can lift up the torso and the head and look over to the right, out ahead of you. We're not moving the hips or the feet at all if possible. Staying anchored in the lower half of the body and just starting to rotate the torso towards the right. And now we'll take some deep breaths here, working to open up the sides of the body. And you can allow the forehead and the head to rest if you don't like keeping it propped up here. And you can stay up on these tented fingers, or you can allow them to lay flat down on the floor. And see if you can reactivate any heaviness in the hips that might have been lost in the transition over here to the right. Trying to work the left hip back, since that's the first that might pop up away from the heels. And now walking through center, and you look forward and over to the left. Same thing. Hips stay as close to the heels as you can muster. And now you're feeling stretch across the right side body. And again, fingers can remain tented up, gaze can look forward, or you can flatten the palms, pressing the body back towards the heel. And you can allow the forehead to rest on the ground. And here, feel the pulling of the right hip down towards the seat, down towards the heel. Still slow, deep breaths, filling up that balloon of the lungs. And encouraging the side stretch, this time on the right ribs. And walk back through center, looking forward, tented fingers, long spine, long neck. And walk the hands back towards the shoulders, underneath the shoulders. And if your knees are parted, maybe you bring them back towards one another. And walk the hands forward so they're placed underneath the spine and the spine is long. Or maybe you tap out the feet behind you if they were untucked in that kind of extended child's pose. We don't take many opportunities in class to do that. Just hold child's pose for a while. So I'm just going to wake up the spine in a couple other versions of rotations. So looking down between the palms are underneath the shoulders, knees are more or less underneath the bony parts of your hips. And we're just going to go through what is called cat and cow, so lowering the belly, gaze and tailbone go up to the ceiling, and the belly drops. So it's like a smiley face, smiling mouth with your spine. And you push the floor away with the hands and the knees, and you draw the belly button up towards the spine. So now you make a frowny face with the spine, allowing the head to lower towards the ground. We inhale, look up, belly goes down. We exhale, draw the belly in, spine curves up. Do that a few more times. Breathing in and out with the change of spinal position. we'll come back to neutral spine, which means that the tailbone and the neck are about in the same line horizontally. And we'll press into the left palm on the ground, sweeping the right arm up, looking up over the right shoulder, breathing in. And on the exhale, we bend the right arm and scoop it underneath the torso, behind the left hand. And just allow the right shoulder and the outside of the right arm to lay on the floor, keeping the hips high, trying not to sink into one side of the hip or the other. So maybe pull the two hips over towards the right a little more. They might have slid over to the left. And again, just breathing with your torso in this new position, the lungs tested in a new position. Still trying to breathe deeply, even though we are constricting the space that the air can go into. Maybe it feels good to stretch the left arm out in front of us. And see if you can press the back of that right palm, the back of the right hand into the floor. And looking underneath the left armpit. One more deep breath, in and out. And you slide the left palm underneath the left shoulder if it crept away. Coming upright, sweeping the right arm up, looking up. And on the exhale, replace the right palm. Let's go to the other side. Pressing into the right palm on the mat, sweeping the left arm up, looking up over the left shoulder. Inhale. And on the exhale, sweeping the left palm underneath us, left shoulder on the ground, back of the left hand pressing into the floor. And the right palm is next to the face over on the right side. And again, check in with those hips. Maybe they dipped over to the right. See if we can draw them more towards center as we look over our right shoulder. And maybe extend the right arm out. So we look under the right armpit. Few breaths. Now constricted, but twisting the opposite way. Walking the right palm towards the face, replacing it on the ground, sweeping the left arm up, and replacing the left hand next to the right. Let's do some cats and cows. Just to re-neutralize the spine, balance it out. All right, back to neutral. So, same positioning of the hands and knees, the feet behind the knees. We're just going to tuck the toes, coming up onto the balls of the feet. We're going to press the palms into the ground, drawing our belly button in and spreading the shoulder blades across the back. And we're just going to lift the knees off the ground an inch or two. We're trying not to collapse into the shoulders, try to push the floor away. The more you push the floor away, the more strength you have centralized in the torso. Strengthening the core. And while we do that, we're still trying to spread the collarbone, so creating space underneath the chest. And we lower the knees, and let's sit back onto the shins. Just take a breather, maybe roll the head out one direction, and then the other. I'm hearing some good cracks. All right, we'll do that again, that little floating table or bear, some people call it. So again, re-tucking the toes behind you, pressing the floor away, trying to direct the soft parts of the elbows towards the front of the room with straight arms, and engage the belly and lift the knees off the ground. So let's count to 10. Again, we're simultaneously spreading the collarbones and spreading the shoulder blades across the back, and also breathing. Step 3. You can wiggle kind of forward and back. Let's go 3, 2, and 1. Replacing the knees, untucking the toes, sitting back onto the shins. Taking a few breaths to slow the pace of the breath back down. Slowing your pulse. All right, so since we're back on our shins, let's stand up onto them. And I'm going to have you turn to your right. So you're in the middle of your mat. And we're going to step the right foot out sideways. So facing you, this looks like this. And we have the ankle in the same line as the knee. So if you stick your arms out like this, hopefully that ankle is more or less underneath this wrist on the ground. So again, turning sideways on the mat. Take a look at that right foot that's extended. The outer edge of the right foot should be parallel to the outer right part of the mat, the short end of the mat. And we're engaging the whole leg, drawing the kneecap up towards the pelvis, pushing out through the outer edge of that right foot, and the arms are extended sideways. Straight as you can. We'll shrug the shoulders up, and on exhale, allow them to soften away from the ears so you have some space, long neck. And lastly, see if you can slide your shoulders back in line so they're hovering over the hips. And then also check in with the 2 hips. If your right hip is up in the air, see if you can tuck it back down. So both hips are facing forward and they're at about the same level away from the floor. All right, there's a lot of preparation. Hopefully it'll go faster on the other side, but just good to point out some cues, get you aligned and sturdy. We'll just inhale the arms up. And on the exhale, we'll lower the right palm down to the right leg and just lean over to the right side. So lengthening on the left side. This is not too different from the first stretch we did in child's pose, reaching over to the right. The inhale animates the left side of the ribs. And we come up through center, arms extend, and lower the left palm down to the ground. And all we do is extend the right arm overhead, shoulders are stacked, we're pressing the left palm into the ground, and you can keep that right foot planted as we were on the other side, or we can lift it up in the air and sweep the right arm over the ear forward, coming into this kind of modified side plank. And we're feeling the stretch now on the right side of the body, working to extend the fingertips away, 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 and the right toes and heel away. So 2 different directions again to lengthen the spine and the side body. And breathing. And we'll swing the right palm down to the mat, swivel the left knee to face backwards so the left foot is now behind that left knee, and we're kicking out through the right leg and foot behind us. Check in with the hips, see if we can center them, square them down towards the mat forward, engaging the belly like when we were in that little bear, that hovering table. The leg is still engaged, and that's it. Place the knee down and come back to stand on the shins. So we'll do the other side now. Swiveling, and we extend the left leg out. So outer edge of the left foot parallel with the far short edge of your mat. Arms extended out, wrists over the left ankle. Checking in with the hips, see if we can suck that kind of back in line with the right hip, same level. Drawing up through the belly to get long through the spine. Shoulders over the hips. Long, straight-ish arms. Inhale up. Exhale, lower left, palm to left leg, and bending to the left. We're looking up under the right armpit. Each breath is expanding the right side of the ribs. So pressing out through the left edge of the left foot, still engaging all the muscles in the left leg to stay strong. On the inhale, come up through center, arms to sideways. We'll lower the left paw into the mat, coming into that side, that floating side, plankish, modified. So hips are working to face sideways, kicking out through the left foot behind us. And we can either keep that left arm up with the shoulders stacked, left over right, pressing the floor away with the right palm, staying here, or sweeping the left arm over the left ear and looking out towards those left fingertips. So left fingertips reaching away from the left foot and the left foot kicking out away from the left fingers. Again, you can keep that left foot on the mat. Keeping the left leg in the air if you had it, just swivel towards your right. So now left foot is kicking behind you. Right foot and ankles on the mat behind the right knee. We square the hips to be level with the floor, drawing up through the belly. Inhaling to get long. And lower the left knee down. You can sit back onto the heels. I'm going to scoot around to face you. Hopefully you enjoyed that view. So coming up onto the knees again, onto the shins, just sweep the arms up. On the exhale, bend the arms and spread the collarbones and the chest open. Just kind of cracking the chest open. And we're pulling the shoulder blades together across the back and maybe feeling the two elbows pull back in together. And as we do this, we want to check in with the low ribs and the belly and see if we can tuck them in a little bit. Sometimes kind of clenching the glutes helps support us like that. Inhaling straight up. Exhale, bend and cactus open. One more time. Inhale. Exhale, cactusing open. And let's let the hands find each other behind us. We're just going to bring the palms together if possible, so the arms can stay bent. And if you like, you can work to start and straighten them behind you, still keeping the palms together like this. Okay? And as we extend the arms, we can look forward, keep the chin tucked towards the chest. Again, checking with the belly and the low ribs. See if you can draw that in a little bit so we're not dumping out. Straight spine, shoulders stacked over hips. And you can keep the chin tucked, or you can start to look up, stretching the front of the neck. Inhaling and exhaling. Release the hands, shake them out. Now pass the hands the opposite direction, so you should have the other thumb on top. Again, start with the basket tight enough that the palms of the hands are touching each other, the heels of the palms are touching each other. And then maybe you work to roll the shoulders back and down and maybe straighten the arms. Checking in with the belly, maybe draw it in if it collapsed. Chin can stay close to the chest. Feeling the length in the back of the neck. Or you can drop the head back, chin up to the ceiling, stretching the front of the neck. You might even kind of stick your lower jaw out. And release the neck, release the palms, shake them out. And press back to child's pose. So if you liked wide knees, you can take that. If you like knees together, take that. We'll just take 5 breaths here at your own pace. I'm just gonna take a drink of water. You can feel free to do the same at any time. Let's take a few more breaths in that child pose. And when you're ready, meet me at the front of the mat, top of the mat, standing. And I'll just do a couple of sun salutations to get used to standing up since we've been seated most of the time. So looking down at the feet, they can be hips width distance. Again, that's underneath the bony parts of the hips, drawing up through the knees, pressing down to the feet. Arms are extended sideways, palms can face forward, drawing the shoulder blades together and down the back, feeling the collarbones spread across the front of the chest. And the chin can stay tucked towards the breastbone, feeling length up and out of the back of the neck and the front of the head. Inhaling, sweeping arms up. Exhaling, folding over the legs. Inhaling, walking hands up onto the shins, pressing the shins away to lengthen the back. Looking forward, but down the nose. Exhaling, planting the palms, stepping right and then left to plank, pressing the floor away, same as when we were in Little Bear. 3 breaths here. Pushing back through the heels. You can stay in one long line like this, bending the elbows, shifting forward over the tips, fingers, bending the elbows back and lowering all the way down. On the exhale, untuck the toes, palms underneath the shoulders, and we press up into a low cobra. Toes are untucked, engaging the legs so the kneecaps are off the ground, tops of the feet press into the mat. We're drawing the shoulder blades together and down the back. One more breath, and on the exhale, lower the forehead, retuck the toes, shifting the hips back through child's pose for a breath, and then lifting the hips up and back to find your first down dog. So similar to child's pose, except our hips are up and away from the heels. We're pressing still to the palms, spreading the fingers wide, wide, wide. Looking forward, those palms are placed a little, maybe wider than shoulder width distance, but you can aim for shoulder width distance and looking back at the heels. Maybe they are hips width distance. It can also be wider. And the knees can be bent. Let's take 3 deep breaths after you get situated. Find a nice position you like. And after 3, coming up onto the tippy toes with the balls of the feet, bending the knees, looking forward, and step up to the front of the mat. Halfway lift, pressing the shins away with the palms, long straight spine. Exhaling over the legs, pressing into the feet, bending the knees, sweeping the arms up on the inhale, and exhaling the hands down through center and to the sides. Keep closing the eyes for a couple breaths. Slow things back down. And then we'll ramp things back up again. Inhaling, stooping on arms. Exhaling, folding over the legs. Inhaling halfway along the spine. And exhaling, stepping left and right. Pressing the floor away, working to straighten the arms. The soft points of the elbows are forward. Pressing out through the backs of the feet. Checking the level of our hips, see if we can lower it down to shoulder height. And you can either lower the knees or keep them up and bend the elbows back towards the hips, lowering down. Untuck the toes, finding your cobra. Do 3 breaths here. I often don't spend time stuck in cobra. Lowering the forehead back down, tuck the toes, moving through child's pose, and meeting and down dog. 3 long breaths here. And after 3, coming up onto the balls of the feet, looking forward, shifting the hips back. And we step up, leaning up in front of the mat, halfway lift along the spine. Inhale. Exhale, fold over the legs. Bend knees, sweep the arms up, inhale. Exhaling hands through heart center. The eyes flutter closed. A few breaths to chill out. Okay, this time different. Inhale, look up. Exhale, fold over the legs. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. And we'll just hang out here for a second. Widen the feet out towards mat distance and maybe shake the hips side to side. And then coming to more stillness, allowing the torso to hang from the pelvis. And allowing gravity to just act as a weight. Use the head as a weight to draw the spine longer towards the ground. And if palms don't find the floor, that's okay. You can grab onto the legs. You can reach for the floor. Maybe you look like this, that's okay too. And again, just checking with the breath. See if you can even it out, slow it down. All right, walking the feet back in towards just hip distance, halfway lift. We're just going to come back up. Inhale, arms up overhead. I realize you can't really see me when I do this. This is what I've been doing. And hands through center, down by the sides. Inhale, look up. On the exhale, sit the hips back into your chair pose. You're working to come kind of the 90 degrees with the hips and the knees. For me, is an impossibility. I'm reaching out through the arms, so the fingertips and the pelvis are going away from each other, same as in that child's pose. We're working to tuck the belly in, support the spine rather than bending, dumping the belly down. And all the while we're managing to breathe. Take a look down towards your feet. Let's see if we can see those big toes in front of the knees. Working to scoot the shins and the knees back if not. And your chair might look more like this, a little more parallel. That's great. Your chair might also look like this. The arms caught, the elbows caught in front of you. Chair might also look like this, hands on the hips. So the further away your arms and your hands are from the center of you, the more weight you have to manage, the more aerobic it becomes. And we fold over the legs, take a break, shake it out. Hands on shins, long spine look forward. Folding, plant the palms, step back, plank. 3 breaths here. From here, I want you to lift your right foot off the ground, hovering in space. Maybe do some ankle rolls. You're going to bend the knee, draw it up towards the right elbow, and step the right foot on the outside of the right hand. So this is where you can enter into your lizard pose. So you can keep the left knee up off the ground behind you. Still looking forward, keeping a nice long spine, looking down over our nose. You can stay here, or you can lower the left knee down to the mat, untuck the back toe. We're resting on our palms, but trying to push the floor away still. So we're still exerting a lot. Check in with the hips, see if maybe we can draw the right hip back in space. Angle those 2 hips more forward and down. You can stay like this, or I can invite you to walk the right palm up onto the right thigh and start to turn open towards the right, looking over the right shoulder, back towards the left foot. Feel a nice stretch the underside of the left hip. Maybe a twist through the spine. Still breathing throughout. And you can stay twisted like this. You can add in a quad stretch by drawing the left foot up towards the bum and reaching back with the right arm to catch the back of the left foot. You can barely see it. A little angle. This is what it can look like. It can also look like this. You can start here, hips up. Work on just getting the left foot towards your butt. And maybe eventually that left hip flexor over here loosens up a bit and your pelvis can dip towards the floor. But just pause where you start to feel sensation and determine whether you want to feel more or less. And if you didn't like that quad stretch, you can release it. You don't have to try it. You can also reorient towards the front of the room, reorient. And the two palms are still on the left side of the right foot. You can stay up like this, or you can walk down onto the forearms. Looking down, the elbows are more or less underneath the shoulders. And still trying to breathe easy, despite the contortion. And rather than letting the head just hang as heavy as we sometimes allow it to, see if we can find the length through the spine and include the neck and the head as part of the spine. On the inhales, maybe we feel that balloon of the lungs supporting the hips, which are challenged right now. And on the exhale, maybe we draw the belly button in. Really feeling the abdomen work as an accordion for the breath, along with the lungs. Ready, walking back up onto the hands, retucking the left toes, drawing the left knee up off the ground, and pressing with both palms into the floor, spreading the shoulder blades across the back, drawing belly in, come up like you're in a high heel on that right foot. And you can kick right back to your plank or down dog, or you can lift that right foot off the ground, pushing the floor away with the hands, just hovering. And extend the right leg back behind you, three-legged dog. Maybe find those ankle circles again. And we replace the right foot down in good old four-legged dog. 3 long breaths to smooth out. Shake the head no, then yes. Coming up onto the toes, bending the knees, looking forward, hips drop back. And we meet each other, front of the mat, halfway lift, long spine. Exhaling over the legs, pressing through the feet, sweeping arms up overhead, inhale. Exhaling hands to heart center, down by the side. Inhaling, arms up. Exhaling, lowering the seat, finding whatever your personal chair is. Few long breaths here, working to shift the shins and knees back so you can see the big toes. Checking in with the belly so it's not loose and dropped away from the spine. Feeling length in the lower back. Let's see if we can sit a couple inches lower. Folding over the legs, exhale. Inhale, halfway lift, look up. Exhale, fold, plant the palms, step back to your hook. Pressing the floor away through your breath. Pressing through the backs, the heels. Lift the hips up and back to spiny dog for a second. And back through plank. Extend the left leg behind you, hovering off the floor. Hips still rotated down towards it. Maybe you roll the ankle on the left foot. And then you're looking forward, pressing the floor away. See if you can step that left foot next to the left hand. Maybe rock forward and backwards to wake up the right hand. And lizard on the other side. And pressing out through the back of the right leg and the right heel, drawing up through the belly, pressing the floor away. If you have blocks or some textbooks, put them under your palms, bring the floor closer to you so you can find more length in the spine rather than collapsing down. You can stay here, or you can release the right knee down to the mat, untuck the right toes, the top of the right foot on the mat. And looking forward, maybe we can draw the left hip back a little bit, so we're squaring the two hips forward and down towards the mat. Still pressing the floor away, drawing the left knee tight to the left shoulder. And if you liked the twist in the quad stretch on the other side, maybe you start to turn the body towards the left, looking over the left shoulder. Top of the right foot still glued to the mat. Still pressing the floor away with the right palm rather than collapsing into the shoulder. Still trying to be proud. Looking over the left shoulder. Maybe you kick the right foot towards the right glute. Maybe you reach the left arm around to catch that left foot, right foot. Still pressing the floor away with the right palm. And maybe you shift the hips back to meet the foot if it wasn't quite making it to your hips. Maybe one day things will loosen up a little bit. Releasing the right foot down to the mat, coming to face forward, both palms back inside the left foot. You can stay here, or we can come down onto both forearms still inside to the right of the left foot. Looking forward, out over the nose. Try drawing the belly up. And a nice, intense stretch on the underside of the right hip. Take 3 long breaths here. And after 3, walking back up onto the palms, looking forward. Retuck the right toe, lift the right knee off the mat, pressing the floor away, straighten the arms, soft points of the elbows, rotating inward and facing forward, coming up onto the ball of the left foot, engaging the legs, pressing the floor away, and maybe we lift the left foot away from the ground. Whew. Still pressing the floor away. And extending the left foot back in space. Maybe find ankle rolls on that left foot. And we find 4-legged regular dog. All feet and hands grounded. Let's take 3 long breaths here. Close the eyes. After 3, lower the knees and press back. And enjoy some child's pose. Walking hands back, coming up to sit on the shins. Eyes can stay closed. Hands can rest on the thighs. I have my palms facing up. Feeling the heaviness in the elbows. Allowing the weight of my arm bones to draw the shoulders down away from the ears. Allowing my chin to droop towards the chest. Eventually I start to feel my breath even out and my pulse slow down. We're going to come to lay on our backs. I'm just going to check the time. Okay. So yes, come to lay on the back. Hips are about width distance. And you're going to place the palms down on the mat. Arms are long on either side of you, and hopefully you can graze the backs of your heels. If not, you walk the heels closer towards your bum. And before we move at all, check in with the low back. See if we can feel some grounding in the back of the pelvis. It's okay to have a slight curve in the actual low back part of you, but let's see if we can get some good anchoring on the back side of the pelvis, which is a little bit flatter. I'm going to press the feet into the mat, press the palms into the mat, and lift the hips up away from it. And maybe we walk the shoulder blades underneath the chest, tucking them underneath so the chest opens. Forehead is still, the back of the head is still resting on the ground. Still pressing the feet into the mat to lift the hips up away from the floor. Gaze is up towards the ceiling. So you can draw the belly back in towards the spine. One more breath with the hips a little higher. And exhale, lower the hips back down. Reset. So untuck the shoulders. They kind of cinch together under the back. Reestablish that connection between the flat part of the pelvis and the back of the pelvis and the floor. And we'll take that again. So pressing the soles of the feet into the mat, pressing the palms into the mat, lifting the hips, engaging the glutes and the quads. The knees and the femurs are tracking forward away from the pelvis, but not out or in towards one another or away from one another. And press again to the feet, maybe the hips lift higher. Maybe you catch the hands together underneath the seat. Maybe you walk the shoulder blades towards one another on the back, still pressing the floor away. 3 breaths once you're at the top. Thighs are burning. Engage the glutes a little bit more. And releasing the arms if they've caught, slowly releasing the top, middle, and the low back. I'll let the legs go over to the right side. Feet didn't change location at all. Now draw the legs up through center, knees to the ceiling, and I'll allow both bent knees to fall over to the left. Again, feet didn't move. Let's do that one more time. Feet stay planted, knees up to the ceiling, knees over to the right. This time look over your right shoulder. Looking up through center, knees come up through center. Both knees drop to the left. Look over the right shoulder. Knees up through center. Draw the feet away from one another, finding the very edges of your mat, and just let the knees knock towards one another. I have my hands resting on my belly, but they can be out to the sides. Slowing breath down again. Gaze can be soft for eyes closed. You can stay here for the rest of class if you like, or if you'd like to try a few more things. We'll do a few more things. Walking the feet back under the knees, and then to meet each other. Let the soles of the feet find each other, and drop the knees away from one another. So we are in a reclined bound ankle pose, or a reclined butterfly pose, if that's more familiar to your bodily anatomy positions. This can be really intense on the groin. So we want to let up if we start to feel pinching on the inner thighs. But if you like it, despite the pinch, you can grab the pillows from the underside and the outside of either leg. If you don't have any pinching, maybe you just allow gravity to draw the outer edges of your legs and knees down towards the ground. And despite this challenge, see if you can reunite your mind with the breath. I encourage you to slow and smoothen. Maybe the arms rest out by the sides of the palms face up. Let's take 5 slow breaths. See if we don't allow ourselves to scare ourselves away from sensation. And after 5 breaths, you can stay here, or you can extend one leg at a time out in front, allowing the big toes to guide the outer edges of the feet away from one another. Spalling open. Bring your attention back to the pelvis. See, we have that flat surface connecting to the ground beneath us. Tension coming to the shoulders and the elbows, wrists and the palms. These points of contact remind us of the weight of the bones and the mass of our body. And let that weight act as a blanket, allowing us and encouraging us to settle. Counting back from 10 in your head, try and take the slowest, smoothest breaths that you can, in and out. When and if you get to 0, start counting out towards 10 again. Just flow in and out, towards and away from 0, between 0 to 10, 10 to 0. And hopefully, with only a soft bit of attention on that count, you're able to drift off. So I will leave you with that semi-attentive counting, which is really just a way to measure your breath. Let the sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system simmer. Allow the body and the brain to renew. Slow down. Thank you so much for spending some time. Please feel free to stay in repose as long as you like and prefer. Do not let my speaking or stirring distract you. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night, and I hope you continue to enjoy classes that Northeastern is offering to the community online right now. And I will see you next Tuesday. Namaste.